maybe you guys don't know this, but Tom has a long relationship with the former president, and actually has a little inside information on a couple things. And I want to talk about the Secret Service visiting your house in a second. But first, there's the story of the infamous P tape that took place back during the Miss Universe contest. I believe it was 2013 in Moscow, when apparently Trump had a relationship with some professionals. How did that turn out? That you know a little bit about this story?
Well, the guys that went with him, his body man, Chuck Labella, who worked on The Apprentice and Miss Universe, came back and told us all of it. You know, I had friends that worked on The Apprentice. In fact, the executive producer's brother was my clip producer on my sports show, the Best Damn Sports Show, period. So there's you have access to a lot of different stuff. But he came back and told us of what it was like, what Trump did, and that they were in a suite at the Ritz-Carlton, and someone told Trump, "Well, that's the bed that Barack Obama slept on," and he had, I'm sure he wasn't paying for it, but 6 women came up for the party. I'm sure that somebody close to Putin or whatever said, "I can't be there, but here, do this." So they came up. There was a scuffle. They get in there, and then Trump it's like, "Hey, pee on that bed," because Barack Obama slept there. So that's really, and I assume everything. I lived at the Ritz-Carlton in Moscow for the summer of 2015, and I assumed that there was cameras everywhere. In fact, I wouldn't touch myself for the first week. I was like, then eventually you're like, "Screw it, I'm doing that."
Wait, a whole week, Tom? A whole week?
Yeah, well, I think it was a week. Yeah. You know, I was working.
Maybe it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, it builds up 45 minutes. But so he comes back, he tells us that this happened, that happened, how Trump got Putin on the laptop, and Trump, everything is on speakerphone because it's Trump. Everything he always does is on speakerphone. So he came back. It was funny and weird, and how it was stilted to make sure somebody Putin knew won the Miss Universe, like one of his girlfriends. Anyway, all was well and good till 2015 when Trump started talking about running for president. And I'm like, I've known him 40 years. Now it's funny because Roseanne, my first ex-wife of 4, hated him. We were together, hated him, and now she loves, like, you. She can't say anything. Yeah. You can't be a good comedian and not be able to say anything about Donald Trump or anybody or Joe. Anyway, so I saw this weekend, they said, "Why do you like Trump?" And she goes, "He did me a favor." And I was listening to the favor. And it's like when Rosie O'Donnell, when he called her a big fat pig, I said to Roseanne, "You got to defend, that's our friend." And she goes, "Well, he didn't call me a big fat pig." And I'm like, okay, that's a terrible, but you see that. Anyway, 40 years ago, we shot a Roseanne stand-up special. I think I was in it at the castle, the Trump Castle in Atlantic City. And what she was telling people was he did her a favor by letting her shoot her special there. Here's what really happened. We paid for it. And then he was like, before we're getting ready to shoot, he's like, "I got a great idea. I know a guy with a Duesenberg, 1930 something. I am going to have that brought here. I'll pay for it. And then I will be Roseanne's chauffeur and drive her up on the stage." And Roseanne and I were like, "That's hilarious." Now he's in the show, but it'll be great. So that's what he did. And then 2 months later, as somebody from HBO or whatever got a hold of me, said this farmer that lives in southern New Jersey boxed up this car and drove it all the way to Atlantic City because Trump said he would pay him, and he never paid him. So we paid the farmer. So I don't consider that a big favor from Donald Trump, but that's how she is.
So just to clarify, though, on the P tape, there were basically a group of girls that came up.
There's been some written about the scuffle at the door, and Trump's main bodyguard, which I wish he would have talked. I can't remember his name. He retired. I think his wife got sick, and so he never shared his story. But that happened, and then 2 years later, I find out he's running for president, and I call the same guys. "You got to be public with this. You got to be public." And then they're like, "Whoa, I don't feel comfortable. I don't want to lose my job. Mark Burnett just signed me to whatever." And I'm just like, and in 2016, I'm like, you have to do everything. You need the tapes, the outtakes from the Apprentice, where Trump says all these horrible things and points to the camera as a woman, a camera woman, and he just would always do, "You're affable." He would say, "Affable." I'm doing that for Chip. You're affable. You're fuckable. You're fuck. I mean, again and again and again. And remember, this show, The Apprentice, had 18 cameras inside the Trump office, and they filmed every moment. They had to legally film every moment from the moment he got out of his car till the moment he got back in his car at the end of the day, because there's a federal law. You can't fake a game show, and it's a game show. You have to film every moment of the host, no matter what. That way, they can't say, "Oh, the commercial people, they bribed him to make somebody win," because they had this game show scandal in the 50s. I think it was a $54,000 question where they fake stuff, and they're like, "From now on, it's a federal scene." So they have all of this stuff, every moment, and so and then people started talking. I shared about it in court. I shared about the whole thing in the fall of 2016, and then people started. And I was urging my friends who were still working for Mark Burnett to please come forward. I ended up with Mark Burnett at Arnold Schwarzenegger's Christmas party. This is after Trump won the election, and all the Republicans were like, "Don't worry, he's going to be presidential. Give him a chance." And so Mark Burnett comes up. We're over there, and I said, "Why don't you tell the truth about Trump?" And he holds up his phone, and it's a picture of his kid as Trump's ring bearer. He's like, "That's why." I go, "Okay, well, I want those tapes, and you don't have to admit giving it to me, and just it's going to be a lot of work." And he goes, "No, you want the tapes, and Trump wants the tapes, and I'm not giving them to either one of you guys." And then we end up in a brawl where and people are lining up on one side. Arnold has a lot of Republican friends lining up. They're saying Hillary Clinton's the closest thing to Hitler, which is crazy. And then my friend, who is executive producer of The Apprentice, the guy that talked to Trump before every tape, the closest human being to him, steps up and goes, "No, Donald Trump is the worst human being I've ever met in my life." And so I was like, he stood up, man. He did that. So I got to leave. So I said, I need to exit this situation. And I get out, there's a valet at Arnold's, and there's been a wreck down the street. So it's taking a long time. And I'm like, I got to just get out of here, man. And also behind me, Clint Eastwood walks up and goes, "Hey, Tom, Trump is a bonehead." He goes, "The thing is, it's a lot of fun to run for mayor. But then if you get elected, you got to be mayor." And I always remember such good advice.
Yeah. Heavy as the crown, right? Yeah.
I got to say, David Korn and Michael Iskoff tracked that peace tape story too. And you can see in their book, they have a picture of Trump at a peace show in Vegas, a late night show where Hot for Teachers, where a woman is peeing into a champagne flute, which is hard. And he's watching it in the audience, like, boy, the light bulb. This is right before he went to Russia with it. Boy, you see the light bulb. Man, that's something. Maybe I'll recreate that. So, yeah.
I got a question for you. First of all, on the Burnett's tapes, you said there's some horrible stuff on there. Does that include the N-word?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. It includes the N-word, just stuff that they had to try to pull him out of there and talk to him, and people. There was several times, and that's why I was hoping the California, whatever it is, the workers' rights law would, get their hands on that. I mean, I tried. It's funny. I knew where they stored it in a salt mine in Hutchinson, Kansas, where MGM stores all their stuff. And I had a guy go in there and take a picture of what the rack looked like, where you would find the episodes of the show as well as the outtakes. And I was trying to figure out how to get into that salt mine. I knew a forklift driver. I knew it would have been a lot of work, and I don't think I could have got it. But I think one day, because every time they syndicate The Apprentice to show, they have to include the outtakes. You cannot buy The Apprentice without getting the outtakes, because legally that goes with it. And that's why they didn't want the Chinese to buy The Apprentice. They made bids for it, and they're like, "Yeah, we aren't going to be able to control them with the outtakes." So, but one day it'll come out.
Do you think that Putin is leveraging this against? Do you think that the P tape is leveraging that against Trump, or would it really even affect his base now if that came out? I mean, they didn't pee on him; they peed on a bed. I don't think it would.
No, it wouldn't affect his base. But Putin is, and a guy, Putin, a friend of his, Michael Cohen. I think Michael's talked about this. He called him during right up before the election. A friend from Russia says, "Listen, There are tapes, but don't worry. We're at there. We're controlling them. Don't worry. Tell him not to worry. We have them, but they're probably not going to see the light of day. And then Michael Cohen used that. I mean, I'm proud of Michael Cohen's done great, but he used that when he went to Jerry Falwell Jr. after Trump lost the Iowa caucus or whatever, and said to Jerry Falwell Jr., "Listen, remember when I helped you with that the naked stuff with your wife and you and the pool boy? Well, I've still got one of those pictures, and I would appreciate you doing us a favor and supporting Donald Trump." And that's as you know, he supported Donald Trump instead of Ted Cruz, who was a evangelical, and his dad is a preacher, and Jerry Falwell made the decision. Okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to say Trump is most like Jesus. So no, his base that you cannot. They'll never. They don't care.
Yeah.
Why do you think Burnett is keeping these secrets? Does he just want to appear to be like this network executive who keeps his clients and his, their dealings secret, or what?
At one time, he was the biggest producer in Hollywood, most money. He's made hundreds of millions of dollars from Trump, which means Trump has also made an unusual amount of money for him. And it's really about money. Burnett, he talks about being Christian and really, but I think Burnett's the kind of guy that will be whatever. When he started that music show, whatever it's called, suddenly the people on the show said he came dressed like a musician, like he was acting like a musician. Then when he started Survivor, they'd say he comes to set dressed like a survivor on the, I think Mark Burnett, he was a merchant marine or whatever. First of all, he talks about being a special ops officer, but it's in the UK, so it's not quite as, but he and I got a full on fist fight, and he is not tough. I mean, he's not tough. And, but I think he just is a chameleon. He'll be whatever, his wife may very well be a Christian or whatever, but he'll be whatever. And I assume by now it's hurt him because he knows more about Trump. He knows but he also tried to do a show with Putin in 2015. Like he has he would do, for money, he would do anything. So that's who he is. People in my business know that now, which is a good thing.
Okay, so you've known Trump 40 years.
Yeah.
How describe the events that had the Secret Service knocking at your door? What did you say or do to get these guys to come check on Tom Arnold?
Again, I knew him, friendly, 40 years. He'd come on my sports show. And he also did this thing where it makes you feel really good. He's like, before we start, I'm only here because Tom Arnold asked me to come here. Like it makes you get a little tingle in your spine. Oh, he likes me. And after the show one time, he said, "Hey, I got a new vodka over. I'm releasing it at Playboy Mansion. Will you come with me?" And I go, "Sure." He goes, "My new girlfriend. You can meet her, Karen McDougal." I go, "That's amazing." So I go there with him. I meet his new girlfriend, a Playmate of the Year, I believe, dressed like a Playmate of the Year, Karen McDougal, very nice, cute. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, Melania's here too," and his daughter. They all posed together in a picture, and I remember thinking, that is balls of steel. He should never be the president because he generally doesn't care. So during the 2018, there's a guy, a congressman up in Montana or something, Greg, I think he might be the governor of Montana. I know. Anyway, he had thrown a small journalist, I think from the Washington Post, a little guy. He body slammed him because he didn't like his question. And so that was kind of a big thing. And then Trump was obsessed with it. And he would say at his rallies, "I want to body slam somebody. I want to body slam." And, Trump is 6'2", maybe 6'3", whatever, 300 pounds. And but he's also in the WWE Hall of Fame. Let me tell you, I have so much respect for the WWE Hall of Fame. But he shouldn't be in there unless he's going to prove it. Dan Gable's a friend of mine. I went to the University of Iowa. I love Dan. Trump gave him the Medal of Freedom or whatever it is, and at the White House, and Trump looked at him, this is on camera, and said, "You're a little guy. I wonder if I could take you." And he said, "You would have no shot." He made T-shirts, but he don't. So anyway, I put out, I will come to any event, any Trump rally, and we will wrestle on stage, body slam. Whoever wins. If I lose, I will not bring it up again. And then I get a call from the Secret Service, and it's a supervisor in LA, and she's like, "This is embarrassing, but we need to come over and do an interview with you." And I'm like, "Why?" well, you said you would wrestle the president. So he came over, and it was such an honor because of what they do. These are the people that are right between Trump and, when he starts this trouble with stuff, these are the people that get hurt. So I enjoyed myself for a couple hours, told every story I knew. And then the guy at the end is like, and I told every crazy fight story. Like, these guys will listen to this. But he said, hey, if you're back in Iowa and you run into Trump, are you going to throw down on him? And I'm like, if I'm back in Iowa and I happen to run into Trump on the sidewalk, I am going to confront him. I will 100% get in his face. And because that's something that's super effective. And I found that with Michael Cohen or whoever. You hear these mystical things about how tough these guys are. And then you get up in their face and you're like, oh, that's just not the case. So, yeah. And then they said, well, that would be bad. And then I took down because they were leaving my house in Beverly Hills to fly to Florida to arrest Caesar Satok, as I say his name right, a guy that was setting pipe bombs and threatening also. So they went from my house, and they told me before I left, we know who the guy is, and we're going to go get him, which is a relief because he was sending him to celebrities or whatever. And but I took it down, the post, because I'm thinking about these guys. They have a hard job, and they're like, what if one of your super fans read what you wrote and tries to tackle Trump or whatever?
Well, good thing they didn't screw those visits up, Tom. You could be in Gitmo right now,
Yeah.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Trump put out a video a couple days ago where he's got Biden gagged and bound in the back of a trunk. So does the offer still stand, though, to wrestle Trump?
And I said to the agents, I filmed it all. What about, okay, you got me for this joke. What every day Trump tries to incite violence. Every day. What do you do about that? And they said, we have warned him 1,000 times. So they were aware. Yeah, that's awful. I mean, Trump is just seeing what he can do and how far. And it's not just him seeing, this is who he is. Like, he's the same guy he always was. He's authentically terrible. That's really who he is. It's the other people around him, the enablers, that have changed. They've changed what they care about, this and that. But he's just an authentically terrible person.